Hello and welcome to Pop Along RC, and today we are talking about transmitters and which transmitters are good for beginners and maybe more advanced drivers getting into RC car racing. So if you are new to the hobby or you've joined the hobby in the last decade, you will be faced with something like this. Now this is a trigger and wheel transmitter. Back in the old days, lots of people ran on sticks. But in this video, we're going to be focusing on the wheel / trigger options because, do you know what? That's what I'm using at the moment, and I've got several of them that I can share with you. So over here, the first three that we've got have come with ready to run kits. They have the basic settings on where you can reverse throttle, reverse steering, and down the end points. So you've got some end point adjust on some of them, and you've also got your trim. And that is pretty much all you really need on a RC car that you are running around, outside, bashing and things like that. However, if you are looking to get into racing, you are going to need a radio that gives you a little bit more. So, the options that I've got here, I personally have been racing for quite a long time, and I originally bought into Spektrum. The good thing about these Spektrum radios is that if you buy a Spektrum transmitter, you can buy multiple transmitters and you can load multiple cars onto one radio, which is exactly what I've done. So therefore, when it came to me upgrading my radio, when this one failed on me after about 10 years, I moved over to this one here, which is the Spektrum Rugged. Again, it had a lot of the features and adjustments that I wanted out of a radio. And it was supposed to be nice and hardy, so you can take it out and drop it and not break it. And because I've got so many cars and I do lots of different disciplines, this was a nice option for me. However, I also got my son into racing, and I wanted to get him a slightly cheaper radio, and I've got him this one here. This is the Absima CR3p, and again, this has all the features that I would want if I was a beginner racing RC cars. So what features do you need to look out for on a radio if you're getting into racing? Now, the first one, which most radios have, is endpoint adjust. There's two areas that you can change the endpoints. If you change the endpoints on the steering, you can reduce how far the wheels turn. Therefore, you can get the car set up for the specific tracks so that it makes it easier to get round nice and smoothly. On the throttle, again, if you use the endpoint adjust, you can slow the car down. So if you are a beginner and you want the car to go a little bit slower around the track, endpoint adjust, drag it back, and therefore the car will be a little bit slower for you. Again, that is a feature that you'll get on many ready-to-run radios. So expo is the next one, or steering curves it might be in some other radios. And what you're looking to do is adjust the settings so that when the car's going in a straight line and you make movements on the steering, the car doesn't turn much, but as you get towards the end, so you maximum turn, the car takes it all the way to the set endpoints. So it basically makes it a little bit more stable in a straight line, and then when you get to the turns where you need to really turn in, you're still going to hit your endpoints because the curve allows you to get there. So they are two features that all three of these radios have that I use on all my cars. They're the first two things that I will set on my cars. However, with the addition of the GT12, I wanted to get a new radio, and what I've opted for is this one here. It is by Radiolink, and it comes in a nice little case like so. And this is the RC8X. So why the RC8X, you may ask? Well, I actually saw a friend of mine using this radio and I really liked the look of it, so I thought I would get one and give it a go. And it comes in a nice little case. There's a box here that's got a few bits in I'll go through in a second. It comes with two receivers. One is this one here, which is a 4-channel receiver with no hard case around it, and there's one that's in the car which has got loads of channels on it, and plenty for me to run ESC, servo. I've got a fan, I've got a transponder, and I could probably run a capacitor through it as well. So here it is, the Radiolink RC8X transmitter, an 8-channel transmitter, so you've got lots of dials and buttons for changing all the different options there, so you can run lights and all sorts of things off of this on different channels and program them all. So rather than me just do an unboxing and talk about this radio, what I actually did is I've put the transmitter in my Atom and taken it out for a spin. And my first impressions are really good. So if we hold down this button for a second, you can see it's got a really nice display there. It is a touch screen one, so what you can do is if I hit that, it brings up the option menu and I can literally tap away and look at all the different settings and things that I want to change on there. So first impressions, I'm really pleased with how easy the interface is to use in terms of getting this set up to the car, making changes trackside, super quick, super simple. The touch screen just made the job really easy. The graphics for the curves for the Expo, really simple, and you can clearly see what changes you're making. What I like as well is when you're actually using it, you can have a look down and you can see how much you're turning by how far the illustrations move. Really, really nice. So, issues I'm having with this radio. First one is the battery. Now, this is a brilliant thing and it's a little bit annoying, and it's a simple fix anyway. So if I actually show you inside here, we actually have in there a rechargeable LiPo, which I think is fantastic. So I don't have to go through hundreds and hundreds of AA or AAA batteries. I have got a rechargeable LiPo, which is absolutely fantastic. What I'm not happy about, which I found out today, is it's a little bit loose in there and it just clunks around a little bit in my hand when I'm racing, which is a simple fix. I'm going to get some little foam inserts in there just to hold the battery in place, and problem solved. So you can hear it. It just, the battery rattling around in the bottom there. So a little bit of foam just to hold that in place, and that issue will disappear. Other than that, first outing, really pleased with the radio. Problem I've got really is that the car that I was driving today isn't properly dialed in as yet because it is a brand new car. So what I'm thinking about doing is getting a few new receivers, putting them into some of my other cars that I know are set up and running really well, and then I can really capitalise on all the adjustments and features inside this amazing radio. I'll tell you what, recently I went over to Bedford and I was chatting to a couple of the top guys over there. They run LMP as well, and they were talking about a feature that some of their radios have, which is about steering delay. So you can set, when you make the turn, you can delay how quickly the servo responds. So when you're turning in, you want it to turn in really quickly, but what they've suggested is you can put a delay on how quickly it pings back to centre, and what that'll do is actually makes the car a little bit more stable and a little bit less twitchy. So if you think you're turning and then the servo pings it straight back to centre really quickly, it can unstable the car. So what they're saying is on the return, so it's quick on the way in when you want it, but on the return it just comes back a little bit slower, which gives you a little bit more stability as you're coming out of the turn. So that's a feature I'm definitely going to be exploring on this radio over the coming weeks, and I will report back how I get on. First impressions, really happy, really pleased. More to come on this one. So what drew me to the Radiolink when I saw a friend with it was how easy it was to actually navigate the menus and make changes on the spot. That's what has let me down with this Spektrum, because I really didn't get on with the touch sensitive scroller at the back. I'd much preferred the physical one on this one, which actually rotated and had a little button that you could press. So I got frustrated with this one. Making changes mid-race was quite difficult and it didn't always do what I wanted it to, whereas this, super easy to use. So I think this is probably going to become my race radio for choice for the time being anyway. So if you've got any questions about transmitters or you'd like to know more about settings, do pop it in the comments down below. We'll see what we can do to answer them. If we don't know the answers, we know plenty of RC gurus at our local clubs that I'm sure will have the answers for you, and we will get them out to you as soon as possible. Hopefully this video was useful.